So we're here with Scott Roybal, who's a candidate for Mayor of Cheyenne. Scott, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Brian Martin. I'm the managing editor here at the Wyoming Tribune Eagle.
Sharon Thane with Black Hills Energy.
Bob Feck, Cheyenne Animal Shelter.
And I'm Scott Roybal, candidate for mayor and Ward 1 councilman.
And Ward 1 Council.
Yes.
Welcome, Scott. Glad
Thank
to have you here. Let's start off with what specific issues or concerns caused you to run for mayor this year?
I've always been a proponent of, if you live in a city, you should take a hand in either volunteering to help run things or to, get involved in the politics of it. And so, as you know, I'm a sitting councilman right now. And I've seen that with the local mayor deciding not to run again, I thought maybe it's my turn to step up and take charge of the city and help move it along, kind of help make sure that it goes where it's supposed to be. The things that I've kind of looked at is, you saw yesterday where the governor just knocked out $278 million of their budget. Casper lost $74 million. We're down $4 million. Maybe we're in a better place to start with, I don't know. But it doesn't look like it's going to get a whole lot better in the near future. So things like communication, and what I mean by that is between city and constituents, between the city and the county, city and the state, we need to improve that. We've got departments between, let's say, GIS. We've got a department in the city, county has a department. If maybe somehow we could, start combining some departments to cut costs for both sides. That way, we work together as a city and a county, not as two different entities. Things like, we have Facebook, there's 100 different mass media or media ways to talk to customers. What they are customers, but to talk to our constituents, and we're not seeing a whole lot of them. Well, it's a little warm in here for me. We're not seeing a whole lot of. I get emails occasionally, I get voicemails occasionally, but not near the volume I should be getting. If somebody's mad about something, they should let us know. And the other thing is between us and the state. Let's set up a direct contact, somebody up there. We've got legislators in our region or our area that we should have a weekly or even a monthly talk with to see where everything's going. We need to all point the same direction. The second thing is growth. Right now we're sitting at about 63,000 people. Yesterday at Public Services, we're working on annexing almost 900 acres on the south edge of town. We've, if you figure 900 acres, or 858 acres, I think it is. If you figure roads and everything, you can put about 11 houses per acre. That's almost 9,500 more houses. And we're looking at the next 5 to 10 years. So we have to manage that growth. We have to get our infrastructure in. We have to get, the roads, the alleys, all the different things that we need in. And we also have to look forward too, not 5 years, 10 years. We have to look 20, 25 years in advance. So we're not doing things like, tearing up 19th Street, 26th Street to fix the water projects we had back then that aren't big enough. We need to start doing that now, so that 25 years from now, when all of us are sitting in at home going, we were right, we should have done that. We don't have the big infrastructure problems. And then last but not least is health, safety, and welfare. Okay, we've got to get police, we have to get firemen, we have to have the people in place, so when this growth does come, we're not standing there flat-footed. Along with that, health, safety, welfare, things like, we hear on a daily basis about potholes, almost on an hourly basis about potholes. But there's different ways to attack this. The deal is our infrastructure is old. We're a 175-year-old city, and some of the stuff we have, I walk in the mornings and I live off 20th Street, and there's sidewalks that have been there since 1905. They're in pristine condition. And then you go downtown and there's curbs that they laid 3 years ago that are falling apart. So I guess we need to figure out what the difference is and go back. If we have to go back to the old ways, we go back. The other thing is I went to a meeting at the state this morning, and just, being a councilman, you think that you go 4 meetings a month and then you're done. I usually use about 20 to 25 hours a week of days off and evenings to attend meetings, like I did today. They were doing a thing this morning about what their YDOT's going to do in the next 5 to 7 years in Laramie County. So in order to be an efficient administrator, in order to be efficient or to make the right decisions, you have to have the information in front of you. And one of the things that we're talking about this morning was on roads. The state has gone from road improvement, which means making them wider, making them bigger, that type of thing, to what they call asset management. And what that is instead of adding stuff to them, they're trying to take them so that where they're, the graph on a road goes like this. Because after it's used long enough, all of a sudden it gets the alligators, then it gets the potholes, and then it just deteriorates. What they're trying to do is make the graph like this. They're going to deteriorate, but over a longer period of time, and it's less expensive to do it that way. You still have to, go in and, excuse me, you still have to go in and put in new infrastructure. But to make the stuff we have last longer, I was very impressed by that. It'd be something that I think that I would try to further.
Good. Scott, what qualifications do you bring to the table that will help you serve as mayor?
I've been self-employed and employed in sales my whole life, and it's management most of the time. I hire, I fire, I train. I've trained countless numbers of people. I've got 6 years in as a councilman. I did 4 years. Sounds like it was a sentence. I was a councilman from 98 through 2002. And then again, I was reelected in 2014 to this term. I bring to the table, I know the players. I know what's going on. I know I'm up to my elbows in it right now. So it would be a continuity of movement. And I wouldn't have to take a year to train to learn the job. And that's, becoming a councilman is like taking a sip out of a fire hose. Okay, there's just so much information coming at you. You take the next step up. I believe you do need to start here, and even if I don't make it, if somebody else does, I believe you do need to start as a councilman or something of that nature, so that you can be immersed in it. It just isn't a walk in and 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Hi, thank you very much. And that's, like I said, I put an extra 20, 25 hours a week, and we do morning meetings, we do evening meetings. When I'm done, this morning I did a whiteout meeting. We're done here. After I'm done here, I'm going over to the, what's the building they just bought downtown?
The Heinz.
Heinz, yes. I'm going over to meet the guy at the Heinz building that bought it. He wants to walk us through or walk me through and show me what he's done. So that'll be another hour there. And then, whatever I can fit in for the evening. My favorite is my fellow councilman, Johnson. He did 289 things last year. And that's just everything from meetings to, going. So if you're running for this office and you think it's going to be an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, it's sadly mistaken. It's probably a 70-hour-a-week job. So,
Scott, what do you believe is the biggest challenge facing the city? And then once you identify that biggest challenge, please name 2 or 3 others.
People, and by people I mean employees. We have 589 employees. Out of that 589, we have, I think it's 59 with under a year and 150 with under 5 years. You got to pay people. The only reason people leave jobs is they leave because of bosses, leave because they're not being paid enough, or they're not being encouraged enough. I'm not a micromanager. I hire people. I give them my non-negotiables. We discuss how we're going to get there, and then I let them use their what they were trained to do to get where we need to be. I find that if you let people use their initiative, not only they bring themselves along, they bring their whole team along with them. A couple of other things, again, is infrastructure. Right now we're spending $4 million a year on infrastructure, streets, roads, alleys. We need 7. So we have to find a way to increase that. White Audit had a few ideas this morning, and again, it's the nice thing about ideas. I love campaign season. My God, even if I don't make mayor, all the ideas that have come from the other candidates, I'm going to harvest that thing like a buffet. And I will give credit where credit's due. I've never been a guy that I'm more for the project than for having my name on a plaque. You know what I mean? And my whole life, I've tried to keep my name out of the police station. Now it's on a plaque in there, just because I happen to be sitting in a seat. So, but like I say, growth is another one that I really think that we need to manage. We need to watch. We've got a lot of stuff going up on the northeast corner of town. We're building at a rate and they're filling those houses as fast as they build them. So people are coming. I talked to a couple of the guys from the Microsoft out there. I work as a sales manager at the Harley-Davidson dealership, And so they came in, they bought a couple of the four-wheelers or four-seaters so they could run around the campus. That campus is huge out there. They're talking hundreds of thousands of square feet under roofs. They're putting the cloud in, they said there. So they're building more and more. And they said, we are at the juncture of I-80 and I-25, and this puts us in the cat seat. In the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see that campus out there just explode. And so, like I said, we have to manage the infrastructure so that we can not only attract those people and keep them here locally, but keep it from blowing up on us. You know, the other thing you see is downtown. For the last 40 years, everybody's talked about downtown, how we need to do something, but we haven't really done anything. Put in some curbs, some gutters, and added a few buildings. We've got four agencies that are basically on the ground right there, and they've decided to take the lead on that. You know, that the Cheyenne Development Plan or Downtown Development Plan. I voted for that, and I'm going to make sure that they get funded on that, because it's easier for people that are there to do it than somebody sitting at the 2101 O'Neill making decisions on what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And they've identified the low-hanging fruit with some lights and things like that. We have money for the 17th Street project. We're going to finish that. You know, let's start with that, and let's start pushing the other things down the funnel until we get downtown back to where it should be. And it shouldn't be a 20-year thing. It should be a 3 to 5 year deal.
So, Mr. Roybal, I'd like to kind of tie a couple of the things that you've talked about already together. So you're right. We're going to annex a big chunk of land, and that's going to bring in more people. It's also going to require more sanitation. It's going to require more fire. It's going to require more police. And you've talked about taking care of the people. Where do you get the funding to cover all of those positions, to cover that expansion?
They're not all going to come at once. Okay, we might add, add 1 or 2 cops a year, 1 or 2 firemen a year. We still have to. Our fire departments. I don't know if you've ever been to the actual fire stations. Some of those things are 25, 30 years old, and they have the same carpet in them. The guys all bring plates and everything from home, so they have, things to work with. I'm going to look you dead in the eye and tell you there's no easy answer. If I had 1 or 2 a year, maybe 3 or 1 or 2 firemen, we build it up like that. As they build the infrastructure, as we get more property taxes, as we get more sales tax, that's how we'll add. I don't believe. And I did vote the other night for giving the city workers $319,000, a 2.5% pay raise, and because you got to pay your people. And I think $319,000 we can absorb into the budget. For the simple reason being is every year the departments give us back a percentage of what they don't use. So I believe we can do that. Next year, when we're going to give them a raise, we put that into the budget. And account for it there. This time we didn't have, it wasn't in the budget. So we had a balanced budget, but no raises, no anything. So I guess, did I just talk all the way around that?
Well, I mean, obviously there's a perception it's campaign season and you guys went ahead and gave the raise because
it's campaign season.
So what do you say to folks who may come up to you in the street and may have a different opinion?
I'll discuss it with them in their opinion. My opinion is I pay people, okay? If you're there, you show up at work, you do what you're supposed to, you're gonna get paid for it. 2.5% is not a huge raise. I mean, I don't even know if it's cost of living. The police, they even sacrificed 2 positions so they could raise the bottom lines, the bottom 2 positions, so they could retain. And I believe we'll get that money back if the people aren't quitting. It cost us $119,000 last year to train people that left. And over the last 5 years, I think the quote's close to $500,000 or $500,000 just to retrain people. So, and you being a former chief, you know how much it costs to train an officer. It's not cheap. And so what happens is, once they get their 2 years, 3 years in here, somebody down on the Front Range offers them $10,000 more and they're gone. So we become a training ground. We don't want to do that. Figure with $50,000 bottom line at least, and I think that's the number we had, $50,000. It'll attract young officers and have them stay. They'll be able to pay, buy a house and keep a family here.
Scott, can you describe your vision for Cheyenne?
This thriving utopia of no, I'm just kidding. Actually, like I say, with with the right type of help, the right type of the funnel, we can get downtown rolling again. We've got a plan in place. We fund it. We make sure and we watch it. We help where we can, and where they're helping, you do that. I see a managed, not a micromanaged growth, but I see a managed growth of how we budget or how we annex in. And talking to the Lummises, they're the ones that are putting that 900 acres in. Talking to Dell, I went to high school with him, and he stops in the Harley shop. We have some great conversations, but he says we're not going to put it all in tomorrow. The BOPU has put in a trunk line down there for sanitation or for sewer and for water. They're working on that right now. So we'll have the infrastructure for that portion of it. I just see us as a managed city, not squirreled out anywhere. Fort Collins, it blew up, and then Greeley blew up. We're in an area now where we can kind of manage it. And the only way we can go is south, because everything north is ranchettes and things like that. So basically the only way we can go annex-wise is south. So we just take our time and walk it through. We make sure that our building and our planning departments are both workable or work with the developers so that we're not at odds with them. We're all looking down the same direction.
Do you think someday that we will make an attempt to annex South Cheyenne water and sewer?
It's going to be expensive.
Yes, it is.
It's because they just, they've been doing their own thing for so long. I mean, we help them. BOP helps them. They do a lot of, they help them with a lot of their projects and things like that, both management wise and not money wise, but expertise wise and things. But there's it's an aging infrastructure down there, and some point we may have to take it over, but it's going to be expensive.
You mentioned the building and planning departments. How would you work as mayor to improve that building development process for Cheyenne?
More involved. I'd like to see us have a Friday meeting. You have a project, you bring it in. We get all the entities in one room. You present your project. They all write down what they're doing. Then a couple weeks later, we meet. On the next time we meet, your project comes up. You're there. We tell you what we need, and you tell us what you're doing. And that way, on every Friday, instead of having a hodgepodge of different departments send you something occasionally, you have everybody there. We can all sit down and point out. That way, you're not working. You're not waiting 1 week for fire to send you something, the next week for development to send you something. So you don't have a timeline on things. Right now, they tell you 3 weeks. We'll get you something back. You got a project going. You've got 600 guys sitting around. 3 weeks is a long time. So, like I said, I would be more hands-on. I would be involved in that.
You talked a bit about downtown. The downtown core project, obviously, is the plan exists. The West Edge project's moving forward. What are your priorities in terms of downtown? And if there was some extra money available, where would you funnel that money?
Downtown, probably streets. If there was curbs and gutters, like I say, sometimes you just look down there and it looks a little trashy. If the curb's gone or gutter's gone. We have a couple of concrete guys on staff. And that's where I'd funnel the monies to them to have them do the small projects. And there's never enough money to do everything you want to. We were talking about the 5 penny and the 6 penny overages. Right now, when you do a 5 penny, you do a 6 penny, you have to write in a paragraph at the end as to what your formula is for the overages. 5 penny, we can do kind of what we want. 6 penny is kind of bound by what the projects were. So I think I'd take 5 penny at that, and whatever overages we had. It's a 4-year deal, so you can't look at a crystal ball and know that the edge of the city building fell off, so we need to replace that. But we could use it for city-run projects.
Do you think the priority, Scott, is the core part of downtown, or is West Edge as important?
The whole city's important. It's not. I'm Ward 1 right now, so I think that Ward 2, the streets are paved with gold. So we kid them about that. But as mayor, you're responsible for the whole city. The West Edge is something that we need to do. It's been neglected for 50 years. In 1988, they made everything from Seymour over to light industrial. I mean, all the housing, everything, the council then voted it to make the zoning light industrial. So if you're living over there, the guy next to you can build a chemical plant. So that's what they thought of it in '88. So now we're sitting here 35 years or 30 years later going, that was odd. Which is something that needs to be taken care of. You know, if people over there, the ones that are homeowners, they're proud of their places. Because you see a gem every, couple of houses. There's some stuff that's pretty run down. So West Edge project, we clean up, and there's people making investments over there too. There's that business right off that just bought homes. What was it? Taco John's, the warehouse behind it. If they do computers and stuff like that for trade shows all over the world.
Warehouse 21.
Yes, and they're putting multi-million-dollar investment in there, and so we need to. I feel that we need to clean it up, build over there, make it look better.
So in regards to priorities, let's say there was a $100,000 grant that came in from the federal government for revitalization. Would you direct those $100,000 to the downtown core? Or would you direct those dollars to West Edge? What would be your priority?
At this point right now, because we have a plan in place for downtown, I think I would direct that to the west core, or quarter, yes.
Scott, how do you feel about the use of taxpayer money for amenities like the Children's Museum?
Ouch. I don't. I feel that if you're going to use taxpayer money, taxpayers are the ones that should be the ones that say, yes, we want to do that. If you want to put it on like this, the way I understand it, if I remember my facts right, Buck Holmes told me that they offered to let that onto the 6-penny ballot. And that was, I don't know what happened there. But if they let on that project on the 6-penny and the voters said yes to it, okay, it's their call. As a mayor or as a councilman, if it came to me and they said, hey, we need $1 million, no, I would not vote for that. Simple reason being is it's a private entity, and I don't believe in using taxpayer money on private stuff.
So no to general fund money, but okay if it's voter approved.
Yes.
Tax.
Because the voters, at that point, the voters have to say, not us.
But what happens is, say, as you take a look at the funding for the museum in Casper, the Children's Museum in Fort Collins, they're not self-sustaining. So what happens if that fell upon the city to be able to fund them for operating costs similar to the Civic Center and to the Ice and Event Center?
To tell you the truth, I'm all for not privatizing, but leasing the Civic Center, leasing the Taco John's out to a private entity and let them make a go of it. The subsidies on them, they're both viable projects. It's just I don't know why we're running in the red on both of those for so long. If we can lease them out to someone to take care of them, yeah, I'd do it in a second.
Scott, what's your opinion of development of the Belvoir Ranch and opening it up to recreational access?
Excuse me, I need to go get my soapbox. When I ran for council, one of my big promises was I'm getting the Belvoir open. And I, along with what we call Friends of the Belvoir, have been working toward that for 1.5 years. And I thought that working through city government or through government was slower than molasses. Wait till you hit some of a major corporation. Last year I had $100,000 put into the budget on a rolling account so that when we do get access, or if we do need monies to do things, we have the cash right there. And of course, it'll go through a vote of the council, but they were overwhelmingly supportive of me doing that $100,000. I talked to one of the staff members yesterday, and he told me that he was out. They went with a rep out to the Belvoir, I think it was in March, and got mired up in the snow. I mean, they had to break things to get him out. So I think it was last week, they met with him again and went out, Seth, went out with him, and he was telling me yesterday they require a site plan. They require where the survey, a site plan, and what our plans are for it. And when I was talking to Seth yesterday, and I'm sorry, Seth, didn't mean to throw you under the bus, but Seth and I were talking about site plans and surveying and things like that. And he just looked at me and said, I don't know where to start. And so I said, well, you can call the Union Pacific rep, use my name, I don't know if it'll get it anywhere, but I said, use my name and see if you can get an exact thing of what he wants. And if he does, tell me. And Seth and I talked about, what monies we would use. And I said, well, we do have 100,000 to get this started. So like I said, if you go out there, it's a beautiful place. I can't believe it just got dropped like that. I got a plan that thick on my desk. The plan's so thick, if you put it on my phone, it weighs a pound. But that's what happens is there's plan. I can walk you through the city. It's just frustrating. I can walk you through every office in the city, and there's a shelf full of plans. And they all start in the 70s, 80s, 90s. We keep these plans for 50 years, and everybody looks at them occasionally and moves them to dust, and that's it. It's frustrating sometimes. But like I say, the Belvoir thing, I'm on the 6 penny taxes coming up. I'm supporting that. I think we have 1.5 million for it. I'm supporting that. See if we can get it on the thing, because it's 18,000, 19,000 acres of what we could be hiking on, we could be riding on, we could be just sitting there enjoying it. They had a bio blitz out there, and these people were like, "Why can't we get on here?" We're trying. That's all I can tell you is we're trying, and we will make it happen.
That leads into some other question about other budget and savings priorities. You mentioned paying people well, but what other priorities would you have? And talk a little bit about the process too, from the mayor's side. You've been on the council side, but if you were elected mayor, how would you change that process, or do you like
the process as far as the budget, the way the budget
developing
is?
the budget, getting into
I got to tell you, the last couple of years, they have done a really good job up there. I'll give Lois in the treasurer's office her due. It used to be they would throw you a booklet with numbers in it, and they would say this, this, and this, and no discussion until we actually got to the process. Now we have this. Lois has put together, it's colored glossy photos. It's got messages from the mayor. It's got our pictures in it. It's a really nice deal. And it goes through line by line item. So you can see where every dollar's going. It shows changes, it shows ups, shows downs. She does a heck of a job. And then we actually spend 3 or 4 hours going over the whole budget before we go into the process. And if I'm to be mayor, I would follow that process. You don't reinvent the wheel sometimes. If it's going well, leave it alone. It's like sanitation. Sanitation does a really good job. There's no need to mess with anything over there.
Sorry for the two-part question. The first part was priorities for spending and savings. What are your priorities?
Priorities for spending. And again, like I said, if we have any extra money, it'll be toward the infrastructure and toward health, safety, and welfare. Savings, you'll save I would save where I can. It's going to be a time where you look at each budget and figure out what they're doing, sitting with them and seeing where we can cut a little bit, add a little bit, save a little bit. There's no, I'm going to cut this, I'm going to cut 10% off of everybody's budget. You can't do that. Because there's places where there's like the two girls that sit in front, Joan and Shannon. How are you going to cut 10% out of their budget? There's no budget. So you have to go on a line item by line item basis and a department by department basis.
You mentioned the Belvoir being a priority, and I knew that was before I asked the question.
Yeah.
But what are your other priorities for the 6 penny ballot?
I don't have it in front of me, but one of them was the city building.
Not the city's priorities,
My priorities. Okay, my priorities were the city building. We have in the city building. You go into purchasing, they have a strap on the wall, literally a metal strap stuck to the wall to hold the wall together. Things like the council office. The council office. You've been there, haven't you? You've been there. You walk into the backside, and then we have Chris in there, and then we have the council office, and then you have a long hallway, and then you get into the actual city building. Well, we've had some problems here in the last year and a half with angered citizens, okay? And they've beat on the door and things like that. We had to install a safety lock on Chris's door and then safety lock on the council door. Reason being is if something did happen, she would have a safe room to get to and get out. With redoing the city building, it'll move the people that don't need to be on the first floor up to the second and third floor. The people that need to interact will be a little more safe. I'd like to move Chris over right next to where the secretaries are, or the receptionists are. That way you have people where if she needs help, she can get help. But that's one of that. again, the Belleville Ranch. Christensen Overpass is one of my priorities. Christensen Road on the other side of Campstool, we have 4,000, 5,000 jobs there. And they all got to come in one or two ways. You know, if you come in off of the east, you got to kind of come down the interstate, or you got to come around by the Walmart and down to get down to your job. We need an overpass over there. It'll help with employee retention. It'll help with more businesses out there. You just got to be able to get in and out. And there's some other small ones I don't remember off the top of my head because we wrote our list out and I should have brought that. But those are the big ones.
Great. The anti-discrimination ordinance, where do you stand on whether the council ought to pass such an ordinance?
I believe an ordinance or a resolution is what we should pass. An ordinance, I don't have a hard time with the actual, most of the language. The thing I have a hard time with is fines and jail time for the ordinance. And if you're going to give out fines and jail time, you need to go through the municipal court. You don't need to have a representative of the mayor or somebody, his representative, making the decision on that. I think I'm a great guy, but I'm not always the greatest guy. So if I got somebody mad at me and next thing I know I'm in jail for 7 days, I would be angered by that. But like I said, I don't have a problem doing a resolution because I believe everyone is equal.
What would the resolution do? What would it, just a statement?
Just a statement of fact that we believe that everyone is equal and that everyone has the same rights and the same inalienable rights.
On that issue, before we leave it, do you think the state or the feds need to do something that they haven't done?
I think it should start at the federal level because, Scott Roybal in Cheyenne, Wyoming passes this legislation and okay, great. What happens in Joplin, Missouri? What happens in San Diego, California? I think it needs to start at the federal level, work its way to the state level, and then to the local level.
There's some fifth penny sales tax money and also some general fund money that goes to the United Way for passing to a series of nonprofits.
Yes,
You're familiar with that?
I am.
It's in the budget. So what do you think of that process?
I think I like that process. The reason being is it doesn't go to, it goes to people that need the help. It goes to needs, it goes to the community shelter, goes to those type of places. I don't need to say those type of places, but what I'm saying is it goes to places that help the indigent, that help the people that are really street level in need. And I'm for that. I believe in charity.
Scott, the landfill expansion is going forward on Happy Jack. Along with that comes some trash fee increases. Where do you stand on that and the expansion, and then where do you think this is all headed longer term?
The trash fee expansions, we did 8%, and it's 8% over 5 years. I can't speak for the councils before me, but the ones before, they did not, for whatever reason, raise fees. And so it came upon us to be the bad guys and do the fees to get up to where we need to be to have the funds to do the expansion. I believe the expansion, we can do it on a, not on the 6 penny, but on a bond pool, because we have the money to pay the bond back. We're paying $100,000 a month to ship garbage to Alt, and Alt can decide they don't want to take us anymore at any time. So we have the money to do, we bond it. We have all the money right now instead of a 6 penny where we collect it. We have all the money right now. We get it done. We start hauling back to our own landfill, and then we use the $100,000 that we were paying them to pay back the bond.
And what are your feelings about amenities that might be needed to attract and keep young professionals and families in Cheyenne?
I'm a health, safety, and welfare guy. I believe that the city is supposed to do take care of police, take care of your trash, take care of your fires, things like that. And once that's done, then we start looking at amenities. Okay. I wouldn't get in. I don't like being in competition with private businesses. I voted for the civic center, or not the civic center, the recreation center, but the citizens of Cheyenne have turned it down 3 times. I think it is now. So they're obviously not for that. Things, if we put together a vibrant downtown, like we have restaurants, shops, things like, I hate to use the analogy of Fort Collins, but you look at their little area down there, and it's lively at night. It's lively during the day. And if we can start sticking with that core plan, we can get this all put together. I think we'll be able to add amenities like that.
Scott, early, when we first started this conversation, you talked about communication.
Yes.
And one of the places you mentioned was with the county. How would you try to make that communication even better than it is?
What I've done for the last 35 years of my life is I've been a salesman. Okay. My deal is to make a win-win situation. I'm always don't tell me what we can't do. Tell me what we can do, and then let's build on that. And so just sit down. We sit down, we talk, we spend a few minutes together, we tackle one problem at a time. And that's, as we move forward, like I say, in 4 years, it's amazing what we can get done. We've got it. I've talked to one of the commissioners over there now. She's up for election, but she was a council person. So you have somebody to talk to there. Buck, he's a great guy. I talked to him. The rest of them, it's easy to talk to them when you're approaching on a non-confrontational basis. If we sit down, talk, decide on, let's say, GPA or GIS. We've got two different departments doing the same thing. If we sit down, let's say one person leaves, why don't we start integrating them together? Then we'll split the cost as opposed to both of us paying for GIS system. There's things that we can't do that they do, license plates, sales tax, that type of stuff. But there are some stuff that we can integrate together to maybe set for some savings on each.
We spoke with Buck earlier, Scott, it was this week or last week, and he mentioned about, he felt that there had been improved communications in relationship between the county and the city. And part of that is their approach to being a liaison. So you have Buck at your meetings, you have someone assigned to attend Cheyenne Leads meetings, chamber meetings. Do you think that type of approach may work for the city where you assign a liaison to be the county liaison, someone to go to the Cheyenne Leads meetings and chamber meetings? Do you think that may improve communication or something that the city council may consider?
Absolutely. The more you see somebody's face, the more comfortable you get with them. And I'm on the airport board, and I run into Ron Cayley there. We do that once a month, and we talk going in, we talk going out. And like I say, it's easier to when you know somebody on a personal level to get something done than when on a professional level all the time.
Any other questions from you guys? Scott, is there anything that you want to address with us that we haven't addressed through our questions?
No, I think you guys are doing an excellent job, and I really appreciate the fact that you're going to do this all at one time instead of after. You remember when Councilman Valdez passed? We had 25 applicants for his job, and Annette and our biggest obstacle was how do we do this without alerting the others to the questions. And so we did it. We started out at 9 o'clock in the morning and did all 24 of them in one day, maybe 15 minutes each with a 5-minute break. And it was amazing. Some folks in 3 minutes, you knew everything you wanted. We asked them 3 questions. And some folks in 3 minutes, you knew everything you wanted. Some folks in 15 minutes, you weren't even sure of their name. It was just, and I'm glad you're doing it this way. Appreciate that.
Well, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
Hey, can we sit for another